So like I was saying earlier, today we are doing a webinar on coach leadership. I call it coach leadership. It's a topic near and dear to my heart, a topic that I think anybody, any executive, any manager, any leader should know about. And the idea is to really just give you guys a quick overview of what it is, what it's not, how you do it, what's important, just a sample, just a taste. And joining us today as a special guest is my colleague, Sasha Herman. Give everybody a wave, Sasha. Sasha is another Better Your Best teammate. She's a coach at Better Your Best. She also coaches in other organizations. And I asked her today to join us because her and I have been having a lot of fun collaborating on various trainings over the last year or so here. And we met actually through a coach leadership training a couple summers ago that we did through our training provider, CTI. So yeah, today, like I said, is really all about giving you a taste of what coaching is, when you use it, when you don't, what are some skills, and then an opportunity to explore possibly diving deeper down the road. So thank you guys for sharing your lunch with us. As I said earlier, today on the call, we have Sasha and myself. And the question I have for Sasha is, what got you into coaching, Sasha? What was what hooked
That's
you?
a good question. I wasn't ready for it, but I have an answer.
Just put you on the spot.
I always was really drawn to leadership. So I always played sports. I was always captain of the team. And I had always, I remember doing my MBA and I was interested more in the leadership classes we had than the business classes. So I was pretty keen to get in there and be a leader. And then for all of my, love of relationships, what I learned quickly in my career as I strove for results was all the bridges that I burned without realizing it. So I was having a very destructive impact at work without knowing it until it was made very clear to me. And also I burned out at the same time, which was a huge gift because that's when I started my journey of looking at myself as a leader, not just a concept of leadership. I got my own coach at that point, which sort of inspired me to realize there's more than just sports coaching, which I had always been interested in, but there's this other kind of coaching. So I had my own taste of leadership coaching. And then I proceeded to, continue to invest in myself and learn meditation, a whole bunch of other tools. But that was sort of the transformative moment. And as I started to lead with this new awareness, the results were better. The impact was better. I was enjoying it more. And eventually I got to a place where my favorite part of leadership was the coaching part. So I just decided to make it my full-time gig.
That's awesome. I've actually never asked you that question before. And our paths are so similar. Me too. Sports was a big part of it. Teaching people, from early on, I taught skiing, I coached field hockey, I taught golf. And I just derive so much love out of watching people achieve their goals. But then exactly the same thing, got into a leadership role, was told I was too intense. I was too and just intense was the feedback that I got, and had to quickly learn how to soften my approach, to figure out a little less telling and maybe a little bit more asking. The thing though that I come up against quite often, everybody, is what I'm seeing in social media is the word coach being thrown around. Like everybody's a coach. Everybody's like, oh, this coaching moment or this coaching tip. And once you start doing some of this coach training, you quickly learn that there really is a difference between sports coaching and leadership coaching. And I always sort of find myself getting my back up, Sasha. I don't know if you do too, when I just start seeing people throwing that word coach out there and not using it in the right context. I don't know if that's just because now you've put all this work into being trained, you want to see that it's being used, or really what I think it's about is that recognition that coaching is most powerful. It is most powerful when it puts the coachee in the driver's seat. So something right out of the gate that I want to clarify is that leadership coaching, executive coaching, business coaching is very different than sports coaching, because in sports coaching, we're telling people how to get better. We're telling them how to improve their skills. We're teaching. Whereas in leadership coaching, it's not. It's that the coachee has the tools, the key to really unlocking what they need to do to achieve what they want. So the power is a bit different. Sasha, is there a better way that I could say what I'm saying? Do you?
No, I think you summed it up really well.
Okay. So just to sort of like and re-emphasize that, I just want to show you guys this slide. So what coaching is and isn't. So coaching is about deepening your self-awareness. Like, who am I? How am I showing up? Am I a bull in the china shop, or am I like not talking enough? Do I pretend to think, or do I believe that I know all the answers and I'm not listening? Like, just really starting to curate that relationship with yourself to understand your impact. Coaching is about taking action. It's a forward moving process, taking action every day, big steps, little steps. Is defining key objectives, maximizing your personal accountability. So it really puts that ownership on the individual, not on the coach, not on anybody else, and about taking action. Coaching isn't therapy. While we do in coaching sort of look back to be like, okay, well, what could be the root of some of this behavior? We're really not unpacking any past trauma. And that's when you would seek out a therapist. If there's some healing that needs to be done, or some trauma that needs to be explored or processed. It's not sports coaching. It's not mentorship. It's not mentorship. When I'm seeing these, coaching moment, I'm like, that's not a coaching moment. This is like, that's a mentorship moment. That's a training moment when you're telling someone, you're giving them the tidbit. So really all of those things. And the reason I bring it up is because I do hear it. I see it on LinkedIn. I see it, in sessions with like potential clients, just this not full appreciation of what it actually is. So there you go. There you have it. Now, so what does it look like? What does it look like when it's being done? Well, like I said earlier, it's an action-oriented process. It's about looking forward to get clear on what is it that this person wants? What do they want? Who are they? And how are they going to make it happen? So in order to get what we want, we need to understand sort of who we are. What's our zone of genius? Like, what strengths do we bring to this like little plan of ours? And what blind spots do we have? And how do I compensate for those blind spots? Do I bring other people into the plan to help me achieve that? Or do I need to do some work on sort of my own narrative in my brain, my own sort of stories? So coaching is really about getting clear on what you want, who you are, and the plan to make it happen. Now, inevitably, whenever we're trying to make something great happen in our lives, whenever we're trying to achieve a goal, achieve a dream, inevitably, there's always a couple of obstacles, bumps, pit of despair that can happen along the way. And so it's really about also understanding, how do I overcome these obstacles? How do I face these fears? How do I quiet the saboteurs, as we call in coaching? So there's sort of this like above the line, who am I? What do I want? How am I going to make it happen? While we balance out sort of the below the line mess that can happen whenever we're trying to make something great happen. So a question I want to ask you guys, I'm putting you in the hot seat. In the next 6 months, like in BC, we've just had some exciting news about sort of feeling like the world might be slowly moving towards some positive, let's say just positivity. If we think about between now and the end of June, what is something that you want for yourself? What is something that you want for your health? What is something that you want for your leadership? What is something that you want for your career, for your family? So let's just play here. Let's just practice. So just write it down. What do I want by the end of June? Just take a piece of paper and write it down. What is it that you want, and what is it that you need to do in order to achieve what you want in the next 6 months? So write down a few action steps, a few commitments on your journal, on your piece of paper, to show what are some of the steps that you need to take in order to achieve what you want. And then next, I want you to answer, what could be some of the obstacles, saboteurs, ways that could get in the way? What are things that could get in the way of you achieving what you want? So my last question is like, what do you know about yourself that you need to manage in order to ensure that you keep moving forward? What's a part of who you are, that your makeup? What's a way that you can sort of sabotage your own success that you need to be mindful of, that can derail you achieving what it is that you want? So here's my question. Are there any brave souls out there that wouldn't mind some laser coaching on the spot? Is there anyone that wouldn't mind, just like Sasha's done? She's done such a great job of sort of walking us through her thought process. So you've got some great outlines there. But is there anyone else in this group that wouldn't mind sort of just jumping in and sharing what's going on? I feel like I could pick on Pam. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah, I went with like a personal focus for the next.
But I'm just, so first of all, I want to make sure that you're good with this. I don't want to just like throw you in the fire. So you're good with that?
Yeah.
So you're good with coaching. You're good with it. This is not, in a coaching relationship, we quite often say everything we talk about is confidential. So this is not confidential today. So you're good. You're okay with that?
Yeah, I am. I struggled with not picking like a career-oriented focus for the next month. So I'm moving house at the end of June, and I've got 3 kids, and I'm balancing working and life. And so my goal for the next month is to simplify life pre-move, basically.
What's the date of your move again?
Yeah, June 29th.
Okay, so it really is the end of June. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, basically some things that I need to do to set myself up for success, to simplify life before this pre-move, is to kind of chip away each day at purging and packing, and not kind of waiting to the last minute. So
I'm just going to stop you for a second, Pam. So the goal here, the end game here is what? Is it simplify life? Like is it simplify life, or is it to have like a smooth move?
Yes, I would say a smooth move with minimal stress.
With minimal stress. Okay. Okay. And what you're noticing around having a smooth move is a need to really simplify.
Yeah, I am guilty of saying yes to too much and filling my plate with other stuff, which just adds to the amount of things to do in a day, which I don't really need right now.
Yeah. Okay, so define, describe, paint a picture for me of what a smooth move will look like at the end of June. Like paint done for me. What's it going to look like?
It will look like a team effort with my husband and I, and delegating stuff off of just my brain, and letting go of it having to be perfect, I guess. And it will look like yeah, a joyous event and like occasion, as opposed to like something that I'm like hating life about, if you know what I mean. I want it to be like
like a celebration.
Yeah.
Like you're moving into a new chapter where like it's crossing this threshold and we are embracing, celebrating this big milestone moment.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, but it needs to be simple. It needs to be a team effort. You need to pay attention to what you say yes to, so you don't get overloaded. There was something in there about you and managing you. There's something about you recognizing your You said it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a doer. And so sometimes I kind of take it on and do it myself as opposed to delegating or asking for help.
Because you want it done your way.
Or I want it done on my timeline.
On your timeline. Tora, are you resonating with this right now? We got a good thumbs up from Tora. That's awesome. So you want to done it on your timeline. And so letting go of perfection means what?
That means, yeah, maybe like clear communication about, for example, with my husband, I'm going to delegate X, Y, and Z things to him to take care of, but also sort of agree on a like reasonable timeline for that to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So defining expectations up front, clarifying, what needs to get done. What about this, like letting go of it being done on your timeline? How do we manage that?
Yeah, well, I'm starting to embrace the idea that if it doesn't get done in advance, we'll just pay some extra money for the movers to do what doesn't get done. And that's something that in the past I've kind of been like, call my friends and family and help me move. And this is like the first adult move I think I've made where I decided that, okay, it's COVID and we've got 3 kids and life, let's pay for movers. And so I have to be okay with the idea. If it doesn't get done, then we'll just pay a little bit more money to delegate that to someone else.
Awesome. So we're going to throw some money at this problem. I like it. Okay, so let's go back to the joy for a second. How are you going to what could be a way that you really hold this space, that this is not something that we just need to muscle through, but it's actually something to celebrate? How are you going to hold on to that?
Yeah, I think we can sort of like, for example, the place that we're leaving, I think we're going to have like a little sort of outdoor like send off with our neighbors to say goodbye. And that will kind of be like a celebration of closing that chapter. And then in terms of, moving on to the next home, then I think we shall think about some ideas of, maybe just honoring that milestone. I don't know what that looks like exactly yet, but
all this sounds great. And I know there's no doubt in my mind, you're going to come up with a couple of these little rituals, but I think what I'm curious about is like your headspace. Like, how are you going to manage your head through all of this to keep it above the line, keep it positive, keep it like, remember that this is a positive, joyous.
Yeah. I think doing some pre-work in terms of getting stuff started early, so that it doesn't feel as much of a chore. And then maybe like we could print out a photo of our new place and put it on our existing fridge so that it's like, oh, this is why we're doing this shitty work now, to kind of get us excited about. Start sort of trying on the idea of maybe like a celebratory gift that we could get ourselves for the new place, that we could kind of maybe start thinking about. That's kind of what I've come up with so far.
And they're all amazing action steps. Like, they really are. I'm just curious about Pam's headspace. How is she going to keep it positive, like when the pressure starts coming in around the move?
Okay. How am I going to keep it positive? Well, I know for me to like not take on as much external stuff. So for example, I'm coaching field hockey right now, and maybe for a couple of weeks, I take a backseat to like maybe one of the other coaches to kind of step up and lead the charge. So kind of or maybe I could, yeah, I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm a fairly positive person, so I don't see
You
myself
are, no,
getting
you
too
totally, yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, sorry,
about
Pen.
it, but
I hone in on it because you're like, I got to let go of the perfection of it all. And so to me, it's just like, how do you manage that headspace around just managing the perfection? What I heard you say is like being organized, reminding everybody that it's a positive thing, and really just not taking on too much. So just being very mindful in the next couple of weeks of what you're saying yes to, in order to not overburden your brain with extra stuff, just to make
and I
sure.
think physically too, moving, obviously for me, getting out in nature or getting some exercise out on my bike is a good sort of self-care that I can also help balance where I'm at mentally as well. So I think that'll be really important to take care of, and it'll be really easy to, throw in frozen pizzas for the next month, but also maybe doing a little bit of work again, or maybe investing in some like food delivery or something like that are like healthier meals, because when I'm eating well, then I feel better too. So those are some other maybe things.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for being a willing participant. What I want to invite you to do is just like, we just riffed on a lot of things. Tora said she loved the idea of the picture of the house. I want you to just take a minute right now and like capture anything that you need to capture as being relevant, as being actionable, as like, okay, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to remember based on our conversation right now.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks, guys. So you just saw coaching in action. Sasha, give me a rating. What did you like about what we did? What was tricky about what we did? What did you see?
I'm getting a call from my mother. I'm Saved by the Bell. Sorry, well, I mean, I actually would put it to the group on what they noticed, but which is always my inclination. But I mean, having the coach skill set kind of playing in my head, what I saw, of course, were those, and those of you from HDC will actually recognize some of these skills, was questions, big open-ended questions, really exploring what was important to Pam, what was sort of going on below the surface, like what's contributing to the current state. Great listening, like really listening for those cues, like there's something else going on, like what is it, the anxiety and the sort of, what are the messages that you're telling yourself, what you need to let go of, right? Like the stuff below the surface. Great paraphrasing. So lots of really good things, but of course those question skills and those listening skills were really well demonstrated. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I do want to point out, like in the beginning, when we came to it, it was like, what do you want? And then I really clarified, like, is it a smooth move or is it, what was it? Can't remember. There was two things there that I clarified. So just, I pull this out. I want you guys to sort of pay attention to the how of what I was doing. So clarifying upfront what it is that she wanted. And then as I was sort of asking questions, these big open-ended questions, it was like, well, what will you do? And who are you? Like I was dancing in these different spaces around, what is it that you want? How are you going to do that? And who are you? I was like sort of really priming her at the end there to be like, hey, what do we have to manage? Because she said perfection. And so to me, perfection, that's the language of like the who are us, who us, like what I hold on to is important. So that's why I started like probing a little bit more there. So I wanted you guys to experience that and see that, because as I mentioned before, if you look at coaching, we can sort of start at the 10,000 foot view and then just go narrower and narrower and narrow right down to the skills. So what is coaching from a 10,000 foot view? It is what I just said. It's what do you want? Who are you? And how are you going to make it happen? The ICF is the International Coaching Federation. They are the governing body of coaches. If you or your organization wants to look at a coach, you quite commonly want to ask a coach, like, are you certified is your coaching certification recognized by the ICF? Or is this just some weekend coaching thing that you did? The ICF is a governing body. Not a lot of people know that coaching actually has this global governing body. And these are their top 4 core competencies for coaching. One is setting the foundation. I sort of ran through that really quickly with Pam being like, hey, like, we're going to do this. Are you okay? It's not private. Like, you good with that? So setting the foundation in a relationship can look like a lot of things depending on the type of relationship that you're in, but that's a part of it. Co-creating the relationship is like, well, what works for me? What, like, really designing, how is it that we need to be in this relationship together? Pam and I have known each other for years. There's a comfort, there's a familiarity there. So I know she is a really positive person, and I can tap into that. But we can co-create the sort of who we both are as we, as the relationship progresses. Communicating effectively, I did that by clarifying my questions, asking more questions, probing, listening, and then facilitating learning and results. At the end there, I was like, well, what is it that you're going to take away? What are you going to action? So this is sort of that 10,000 foot view the ICF sort of defines as like the core competencies required in this coaching relationship. But now if we were to sort of scale down to like more, let's call it the 8,000 foot view, I share with you a coaching framework. This is called the GROW model. This is one of many types of coaching frameworks out there. There's a lot, but this is a really popular, easy one to remember. The GROW model really just takes the coaching conversation on a journey. It starts with the goal. Well, what is it that you want? What are you wanting to achieve? And being very clear on what that thing is. And now what's the reality? What's happening? Oh, well, all these things. I've got 3 kids. I like to overcommit to things. I like being busy. I like things being done in my own time. Like, just really grasping, taking a picture of what's happening in the ecosystem through, having her sort of take stock, take inventory on what was going on. And then, well, what are some options? How are you going to ensure that you have this smooth move, Pam? Well, we could look at maybe putting up a picture. I could say no more often. So we started like coming up with different ideas. Pam, you very naturally come up with like action-oriented steps, like very, very naturally, which indicates that she's probably been coached before. And then you commit to something. Well, what is it that you want to commit to? I might have, if it had been a coaching conversation, I might have been like, okay, well, what of those things that you mentioned, what are 3 things that you're going to do? And what are you going to say yes to? What are you going to say no to? So really wrapping up a coaching conversation with that commitment to action and that accountability is what's critical. And this is what makes coaching so powerful, is that she's sort of looking within herself at what is it that she wants, or where she may be feeling a bit stuck, and how is she going to move through this in her way in order to achieve the result that she wants. Quite often what can happen in organizations is that we set out these objectives and we say, well, you are going to do this thing, we're going to do this thing by this day. And then we sort of expect people to sort of get in line and follow the marching orders, and then we're disappointed by the results. We all know that when someone can own their process, own their action step, they are that much more successful. And that is really the heart of coaching. When there's an opportunity to really give your people the freedom to create their own goals, to create their own objectives and their plans to move forward, they are that much more successful. Sasha, is there anything that you can add on top of what I just said there? It's putting you in the hot spot.
Other than to say, helping people find that thing that's important to them and really to have the experience of digging into what that would be like is, I think, one of the most transformational things I've ever witnessed, as opposed to telling them what they need to do, which we're so used to doing. We're such great problem solvers. That's why we've all been so successful in our careers. We solve really complex problems at work. It's helping other people find the solutions that are meaningful to them and help them figure out how they want to solve their own problem instead of solving it for them. And I think that's where the magic is. So this model is really helpful in kind of walking them through those steps.
Yeah. And so again, so we've gone from 10,000 to 8,000 foot, and now we're going to go to like 2,000 feet. So how, like, what are the skills required to, you know, activate the grow model? And there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot. But four sort of main skills that we talk about commonly are powerful questions, level 3 listening. So that's listening like viscerally, like with your body, like not just listening to answer and not just like listening to talk, but it's actually like checking in with like, what is my body telling me about this situation? Like really listening, seeking to understand, mirroring and naming, sort of just calling out. So what I heard you say, Pam, was I didn't do a lot of mirroring in that conversation, but like really clarifying, really naming. What I'm hearing you say is, do I understand you correctly? Just like naming it so you both can be very clear on it. And I didn't actually really acknowledge. Did I acknowledge Sasha? I gave her homework, but I didn't acknowledge her.
You did. You kind of acknowledged the moments of like what it is that she wanted, and you know, yeah, there was a little bit. It wasn't an outright like you're amazing, but then that could be over the top too, right?
Yeah, I do think she is amazing, though. Just for the record, but yeah. So these are some of the skills. These are just a few of them. Now, what I want to invite you guys to do is like start for a second and consider the first one, powerful questions. What is a powerful question? Like, why are they important? Sasha, how would you answer that question? What in your mind is a powerful question? Why do we use powerful questions?
Oh, you know what I'm so tempted to do? Again, you're seeing my inclination. We have people from HDC here.
I know, we'll put them on the spot.
We have taught them this. Because you know the powerful questions are ubiquitous with both helping people find their solutions, but also creating really powerful relationships and having really strong influencing you know, relationships. So I think, you know, you spell it out here, right? They're clear, they're open-ended, they're short, and they're filled with curiosity.
I sort of, you've sort of like put that invitation out there. So I want to put an HTC person on the spot. Like, Gord, what, like, how have you been using powerful questions since we started talking about them? Have you been using powerful questions? Like, have you been using them? What are you noticing? Like, let's start with the have you, and what are you noticing about powerful questions?
Probably not using them as well as I should. I find also I don't, you know, my questions are more in the, I guess more in that clarification. I'm trying to narrow, not go big type thing. That's a lot of my job. So I don't think I actually have been using them. I've used them once or twice in coaching some of my team members, just trying to understand their desires. But I don't think I've been using them right because it just kind of sends them they're not ready for them sometimes. So you have to be careful to make sure you're at the right time before you open a real, like, what do you want to be when you grow up kind of question. So.
Which raises a really good point, because not every conversation with an employee is a coaching conversation. Not everyone is. Can anyone sort of tell me when we would use a coaching conversation and when we might not use a coaching conversation?
Might use a coaching conversation when one of your teammates or colleagues is struggling with something. It's obvious that they're struggling with trying to make a decision or struggling with an idea of how to pursue a project or something like that. I think that that's a really prime gift to engage in a coaching conversation.
Bang on, bang on. Sasha, did you want to say something? No, that's bang on, Tora. Like, coaching conversations, powerful questions, these types of things, you know, they're helpful in really helping people who are feeling a bit stuck or feeling pain or who are wanting to achieve something. We commonly, HTC, we've talked about like people either, what are they working on? Like what are that they're trying to achieve, that they're getting to? What are they motivated to? Or where are they feeling stuck? What are they afraid of? Those are the types of places where a coach coaching conversation can be very, very powerful. And or another place is just a monthly, I'm seeing more and more organizations doing sort of monthly check-ins where maybe there is no agenda at all. And we can, as leaders, just be like, what's good right now? What's tricky? What do you want to achieve in the next 6 weeks? So that's another type of place where you could host a coaching style conversation. But if you're checking in on someone's work, if you're sort of like giving some marching orders, yes, we're not going to be jumping into a coaching style conversation. But I've got a list here. I sent it out in my last newsletter. If you didn't get it, here's just as you can see on this sheet, I've got a great little PDF about different types of very short, open-ended, powerful questions that you can use to draw out sort of different themes. Is it anticipation? Is it clarification? Is it an evaluation? And commonly our questions are just very short and succinct, not too wordy. We want to just like leave it hanging there to sort of allow people that space to sort of just let whatever's going on in their brain come out, if that makes sense. So my challenge for you guys is to, as Tora said, listen for those places where you might have a colleague, a friend, a child, a spouse feeling a little bit stuck, and not rushing in with the answer, not rushing in with an idea, a solution, but rush in with some curiosity, rush in with some questions. This, you know, having been a coach for 13 years, I still practice this. This is still really tricky for me because I really love telling people what to do. I really do. But you know what? You just gotta like sip it sometimes and just really appreciate that no one knows better the solution than that person. They within them know the best solution better than anyone. So I love this quote: enjoy the questions because they open many doors, and forget the answers because they always change. They always change. So I'm leaving you guys with a bit of homework. You can take it or leave it. No one's going to be asking you about it. But truly, it's like, where might you find some opportunities? Actually, we already answered this question. Where do we use coaching? My question is how can you start using powerful questions now, or start using powerful questions now when you start feeling that someone's stuck? Start using those questions and just pay attention to what you notice. Like, observe the conversation like you were just now with Pam and myself, but also listen to what they're saying. Okay. And that will just get you going a little bit on your coach leadership, and start noticing sort of the different impact it can have and the different momentum it can create. Any questions about anything that we've talked about so far? Is there anywhere where you sort of tried it and failed? We love these types of conversations. Is there anywhere where you want to just get more information based on anything that we've talked about? Does anybody have any questions? Eric, I want to put you on the spot. What are you using as it relates to coach leadership? How are you using it? Are you using it?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been more like this type of like powerful questions. Like, it's all, I'm not saying like self-learn. It's an area that I'm curious about and want to get better at. And there's some good podcasts, like the Knowledge Project is one I've listened to a lot that had some good topics on. But for me, like when you were asking that question on like, do I have any questions? There's instances where these moments come up and you can probably identify, but at the same time, like the conversation that you had with Pam, like it takes time. And there's instances where these moments come up in the day where you're like, this is a coachable moment, however, in the line of work that Kira and I are in, we're in client service, we're corporate finance professionals and valuation professionals, often working with client deadlines. So when those moments come up, like you want to acknowledge and dedicate that time, but at the same time, you might not have the time in that moment. So how in instances like that, how best can you circle back or, schedule without it trying to becoming a very formal process? But do you have any recommendations?
Well, I'm going to be a bit of a brat and turn it around on you and say, what have you tried? What works? What doesn't work? What's something new that you think you need to try?
I think this is something that for me, it's a priority in the big picture, but in the day gets bumped in terms of list of priorities. So I think maybe that's the issue, is I haven't explored. It's been easy to push off some of this stuff and be like, okay, we'll do this and have some coaching moments when I set up time to do a quarterly review or something more formal in structure where I'm carving that out. But then you're missing all these great moments in between. And I know from a person who has benefited from coaching, it's those things, those moments that come up in between that you really have the most learning. So I think, as I'm I need to find a better way to prioritize and build, and hold myself accountable to making this a priority, instead of just, another 4 months have gone by and we haven't talked about anything. Like, what's on your mind, right?
So how are you going to do that? What's that going to look like? How could you do it?
Yeah, I think, as a type A person, I give priority, can I reflect on this in a week? Can I set up on my, my Sunday night, how I run my week is I spend a couple hours after the kids go to bed, like planning out my week. And can I try to carve out some time to make sure that this is something that there is time in the week. And then when I close out the week on Friday, I also have where I wrap up and my own little process for shutting down on Friday. Can I maybe incorporate there, like reflecting back, saying, did I make time for this? Did I not? If I didn't, how come? And what can I do better next week? Like, I think maybe just incorporating coaching into that process, which has been more specific for like client requirements and client deadlines.
So add an employee audit element to it, like coaching employee audit element to that wrap up.
Yeah.
Something like that. I just want to say, like, I can tell, like, you're a very high achiever. You're like, when you commit to something, you commit to it. So I just want you to be very careful what you commit to. I'm not asking you to blow the doors off of this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want to challenge you on is a expression that keeps coming up for me right now is where your attention goes, energy flows. And so I want to challenge you to just stay open to paying attention to those coach moments and paying attention to the question of, how do I create more coach leadership opportunities in my role? So you can define the how, you can do your Sunday night, you can map out your plan, you can do all that, but I'm actually just going to be a little bit more gentle with you and just say, just leave it as an inquiry. How do I create more intention? How do I be intentional around creating more coach leadership moments so that the energy can flow there on its own naturally? Like, move it up the priority list. Move it up the priority list. I always say, like, people commonly, like, I see this over and over again, we'll wait for it in our quarterly review. I don't know if you read my last blog, but it's what clients say to me all the time. I'll address it in our next quarterly review. And the truth is like, it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. This thing happened like 45 days ago and now I'm bringing it up again. Like, that's, it's tough. Like, we want to be in real time. Hey, let's talk about that thing. It was tricky. It was hard. Like, we want to catch these things in real time and then, like, not make it so cumbersome, like a review where, like, we're prepping for this thing. Like, we want it to be part of our dance together. Like, what was good about that? What was tricky about that? Just like I said with Sasha, I'm like, Sasha, how did I do with that coaching just now? Was that okay? Or did that suck? Just like in real time. We need real time so that people are sort of really paying attention to who they are and how they're showing up in real time so that we're always getting better together. But thanks for diving in there. Anybody else? Judith, do you have anything to add on this topic? Put you in the hot seat.
Yeah, I would, except we've got this extreme demolition construction noise in the background, so I'm reluctant to impose that on. If you can't hear it, I'm surprised.
We'll let you.
I've enjoyed this conversation. It's fantastic. So I'll just leave it at that for
Okay.
today.
I bet you can resonate with what Erica was saying. Your world moves really quickly as well. And I bet you guys can all resonate. So maybe that's the challenge, is like, just like looking for that space, looking for those opportunities to create those coach leadership moments.
And it helps to know that somebody else is going through the same thing.
Yeah. You're not alone. I think everybody, I saw Christy nodding her head there. I mean, Pam, I'm sure everybody's feeling the same. Like, how do I do this on top of like servicing the work that I need to do every day? But I do feel like it's that skill that when we create space for it and we're all collectively working on it together, then we're all just getting better together. We're doing better work together. So we want to do more training on this topic, this coach leadership. Sasha and I are working behind the scenes on some coach leadership training to come out in the fall. If you're interested in more information on this, let us know, drop us a line. We already do offer quite a lot of different virtual training courses. HTC is on here, and we just completed an Influencing Without Authority course for them, and we just love to see you guys coming back and keeping the learning going. HTC is the name of a business, that's why we keep dropping it. So check out our virtual training page and see what are some of the types of online learning that we can offer you and your team. But also, we do these things monthly. Sorry, we have a book club coming up tomorrow, the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. You're welcome to join. If you've got the time and you haven't read the book, like, just show up. I've invited my friend Juliana, who is the woman who introduced me to this concept, to the book club, and she's so cool. And this is unlike any other leadership book that you will have ever read. There's some interesting stuff in it. Just interesting reminders, just interesting thinking. And then our next webinar is on a topic called driving forces. It's a part of a behavior assessment tool that we use, but it's this idea that when we can really get plugged into the why of what we do, not necessarily our purpose, but like more like why in a tangible way, we become more engaged, we become more fulfilled, we understand why there's synergies in organizations and why there might be some tension. So that's happening in June. It's not the last Wednesday in June, it's actually the 23rd. So that was a date change if anybody wants to join us for that. So ladies, if you have to hop off. If you can stick around and you have any more questions, happy to keep chatting as always. But thank you so much for your time today. Sasha, thank you so much for showing up and letting me just throw you in the hot seat. And yeah, great to see you all.